What's wrong?
Come on, man. Do I look like something's wrong?
You won't believe which Hollywood icon once smuggled a pound of cocaine and served hard time. From beloved family man to criminal past, this star's shocking history will leave you speechless. Number 35, Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase said he was hurt after horrible things were said about him during a 2002 roast. But he isn't the easiest person to get along with. From profanity-laced tirades to being banned from hosting SNL, Chase has made many enemies throughout his long career.
Chevy Chase is not just the comedic genius you've seen on screen. His real-life behavior will shock you. Chevy Chase is known for being difficult to work with and is most likely a racist. He's been accused of disrespecting employees, so it shouldn't be shocking that he may treat fans harshly. Rob Hubel, an actor and comedian.
You polish off that plate and you break the record. 28. That one makes 26.
Stand back, everybody. The record falls tonight.
Look at him go.
The new record! And he's still going. Most folks just don't seem to have a taste for testicles no more.
Testicles?
Yes, ma'am. Sheep balls.
That's right.
Tell them why yours are so tasty.
Well, the trick is you've got to clip them off way up high.
Had known Chase his whole life when they first met at an Upright Citizens Brigade event. What was Chase's response? After smacking Hubel so forcefully, he saw red.
When he returned to host in 1995, Chase screamed at staffers and harassed a female writer. Will Ferrell also said that Chase was the single worst host he dealt with in his tenure on the show.
Number 34, Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper's wild side went beyond the characters he played. The real-life stories are crazier than any role he ever took.
Well, they need doctors, Dad. They need doctors in war, too. I'm gonna go on and finish medical school if I can.
Though he mellowed out into the eccentric veteran during the later years of his career and life, Dennis Hopper, R.I.P., was a Hollywood wild child during the 70s and 80s, a hippie who denounced materialism. He celebrated the success of Easy Rider by living in self-imposed seclusion in a small town far from the beaten path.
Hey, cowboy, who's got the gun? Cowboy?
But that didn't stop him from sweeping people up in his insane orbit. Such as the time Chris Christopherson witnessed Dennis cause a priest to get defrocked for helping him pull off a weirdo mask for James Dean. We're sure everyone that crossed Hopper's path during those days was genuinely surprised when the same guy wound up doing Star series with Jim Jones and retirement fund commercials years later.
They think you've come to take him away, and I hope that isn't true.
Number 33, Tim Allen.
Most people know the movie star from his successful Hollywood career, starring in his TV show Home Improvement and movies like Toy Story and Santa Claus. But what many people don't know is that this Hollywood star came from a troubled past involving death, drugs, and prison time.
Tim Allen's wholesome image hides a dark past involving crime and drugs that almost derailed his entire career before it began. That's right, Tim Allen, star of The Santa Claus and Toy Story, had his own run-ins with the law. In 1978, Allen was arrested for drug trafficking after police found more than a pound of cocaine in his luggage. He remained in jail until 1981, after which he returned to the comedy scene in Los Angeles. Number 32, Charles S. Dutton.
You spent 7 years in prison.
More than 7. So 7.5 the last time. 12 all total.
12 total.
7.5 the last time. Well, you know, I speak in prisons all the time, Roland, you know, all over the country. And it's getting more difficult because of the amount of time they're handing these young African-American Latinos.
Before he became a star, Charles S. Dutton's life was a series of violent street fights and a deadly encounter that changed everything.
Hey, look, if you came for the meeting, it's over. Everybody left.
Yeah, well, we are here for the meeting.
At the age of 16 in 1967, Charles Stanley Dutton faced a life-changing event when he was involved in a deadly altercation. According to Dutton, the other person attacked him with a knife, escalating the situation.
Most well known for his hit Fox show Rock, actor Charles S. Dutton's disturbing crime was committed long before his fame. According to the Chicago Tribune, as a young man who grew up street fighting in hardscrabble Baltimore, Dutton found himself in a deadly altercation with a man who pulled a knife during one such scramble. Dutton won the fight, leaving his opponent dead in the street. He was sentenced to 5 years for manslaughter, eventually serving 9 years total due to his unremitting rebellion and insubordination toward prison staff. By chance, Dutton discovered a love of reading plays while he was incarcerated, and upon his release, he redirected his life to acting and stagecraft, leaving behind his violent and tragic past. Number 31, Don King.
Hey Don, why'd you rob Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali like Barack Obama robbed us?
Because I loved them. I loved them, and I thought it was just so nice that they would give me an opportunity for me to make them rich so that I could rob them, because they were poor when they came to me, and there was nothing to rob.
Don King's flashy suits and larger-than-life personality mask a past filled with violence, including not one, but 2 deaths. Boxing promoter Don King killed 2 men in separate incidents. King killed the first man in self-defense when the man was trying to break into his gambling operation. King was convicted of second-degree murder for the second incident, in which he stomped to death an employee who owed him $600. He served a little less than 4 years in prison. Number 30, Jeffrey Jones. The creepy principal from Ferris Bueller wasn't just acting. Jeffrey Jones's real-life actions are far more disturbing than his movie roles. Jeffrey Jones is best known for his role as the truancy-hating, teen-pursuing high school dean of students, Ed Rooney, in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and a newspaperman in A.W. Merrick on Deadwood. In real life, he also dodgily went after underage people and pursued photographic accounts, although in a much more alarming and disturbing manner than that of Rooney or Merrick. Following an official accusation by a teenage boy, a long investigation, and seizure of incriminating materials from Jones, police arrested the actor in 2002 on a felony charge of coercing a person younger than 18 to appear in a film of an adult and sexual nature, as well as a misdemeanor count of possessing said materials. Jones ultimately pled no contest, and he didn't serve any jail time. However, he was ordered to appear on a registry of sex offenders, and after failing to annually update his personal information in 2010, Jones earned a sentence of 250 hours of community service and 3 years probation. Number 29, Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo's rise to fame had quite a few twists and turns along the way. Years before he took up acting, he was actually a violent criminal who'd spent time in multiple prisons. So how was he able to turn his life around so drastically?
Danny Trejo's tough guy image is no act. This Hollywood favorite spent over a decade behind bars for his violent past. Actor Danny Trejo participated in his first drug deal when he was just 7 years old. At age 10, he was arrested for the first time and served his sentence at East Lake Juvenile Hall in 1956. Years later, in 1962, he was imprisoned for drug dealing and robbery. All in all, he spent 11 years behind bars. Number 28, Christian Slater.
What do you think, huh? Even comes with a matching hat. Feel like a dork.
Christian Slater's bad boy image goes beyond the screen, with a history of violence, addiction, and multiple run-ins with the law.
I never really saw myself as a cop, you know? I mean, I'm more like the bad guys. I don't like rules very much, and this sounds like a 9-to-5 thing. I want the big score. I want the brass ring, the pot of gold, and then I want to retire.
In 1989, Christian Slater was arrested for drunk driving and assault and was sentenced to 10 days in jail. In 1994, he was arrested for trying to board an airplane with a concealed weapon in his luggage. In 1997, Slater assaulted his then-girlfriend, Michelle Jonas, while he was drunk and high. He also assaulted a police officer that night, which harshened his sentence to 100 days in rehab and 3 months of jail time.
I don't know, maybe it's just the post-gunshot blues, but I'm beginning to feel like I'm not exactly cut out for this line of work, you know?
Number 27, Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid's bizarre antics off-screen made his on-screen roles look tame. From fleeing to Canada to avoiding star whackers, his story is wild. Legendary character actor Randy Quaid's descent into alleged madness is at least partially responsible for his unusual crimes. Convinced that he was being pursued by star whackers intent on murdering him, Quaid and his wife were accused of skipping out on hotel bills and unlawfully squatting on a property that had sold years prior, and reportedly failing to appear in court to address these issues. Canada denied asylum to the couple, in part due to the ongoing legal troubles. They were eventually arrested in October 2015 while trying to sneak back into the United States from Canada via Vermont. Number 26, John Wilkes Booth.
An offhand remark eerily predicted the gruesome death of one of America's most notorious assassins. The original autopsy of John Wilkes Booth contains some fascinating things. It's an oft-told tale of Civil War-era justice. Around sunrise on April 26, 1865, Abraham Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth, was tracked down to a large Virginia tobacco barn. After refusing to exit, the barn was set ablaze by an overzealous tracker. But before he could escape the inferno, Booth suffered a gunshot wound which would lead to his death.
Before he became an assassin, John Wilkes Booth was one of the most famous actors of his time, but fame couldn't keep him from infamy. Becoming famous for one thing, like acting ability, will almost certainly be overshadowed by committing a deplorable act that destroys lives and changes history, such as assassination. That's what happened to John Wilkes Booth. He'll forever be part of history books as the man who, in 1865, walked into Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., and shot President Abraham Lincoln to death. Less remembered about the life of Booth? He was a phenomenally popular actor. Up until the time he murdered the president, that is. Born into an acting dynasty, Booth found fame and acclaim while very young, but was still overshadowed by his actor brother, Edwin Booth. In terms of modern-day parallels, John Wilkes Booth was like Kiefer Sutherland mixed with Liam Hemsworth. At age 17, Booth was so good in a Baltimore production of Richard III that a prominent Virginia theater hired him for its touring Shakespeare company, which played major cities all over the U.S., per biography. In 1865, he was a headliner, a star attraction, and a sex symbol. After a kidnapping plot failed, Booth's plans to assassinate the president worked. Booth was shot and killed by investigators just weeks later. Number 25, Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis has played heroes on screen, but his off-screen behavior at times was anything but heroic, especially when dealing with fans. Bruce Willis and his then-wife Demi Moore visited a California pizza kitchen at Atlanta's Lenox Square Mall during the 1996 Summer Olympics. According to a restaurant employee, two children, about 10 years old, were reportedly watching Willis from a distance, grinning and pointing at him. On the other hand, Willis is said to have stood up and yelled at the boys, perhaps for interfering with his dinner. Number 24, Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken, you've made, in this last couple of years, these two enormously successful films. I happen to have seen, I think, your first professional stage performance and two other early stage performances, because you used to be a singer and dancer, didn't you?
I did. That's a long time ago. You must be old.
Christopher Walken's eccentric roles are often reflections of his own odd personality. But how much of it is real? You'll be surprised. Christopher Walken is always going to be perceived as a strange guy because he's earned a reputation for playing strange characters. He is, without a doubt, one of the best character actors of our time. But we say you're tripping if you think a guy that's made a career out of playing weirdos isn't drawing from somewhere within each time he does. So, what's Walken's crazy character trait?
Terrible.
Number 23, Robert Blake.
You're stopping trains. I want to know why. Where is the revenue train?
We're holding it at Wall Street.
Send it through. Send it through. Nothing stops the money train.
Robert Blake's fall from a beloved actor to a criminal defendant is one of Hollywood's most shocking transformations. And it all started with a murder.
People knew him as Beretta and for In Cold Blood, but arguably actor Robert Blake's highest profile role was that of defendant. Here's how he ended up being declared not guilty in a trial that captivated the country. In 2001, Blake entered the headlines for reasons that had nothing to do with his acting career. The film and TV star was charged with the murder of his second wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley.
Back in the 70s, TV was lousy with detective shows, succinctly named after their main character, such as Kojak, Columbo, Cannon, and Beretta, the latter of which starred former Little Rascal turned tough guy actor Robert Blake. He was best known for Beretta up until the 2000s, when he became the center of one of the most publicized trials of all time. Robert Blake was charged with the slaying of his wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley, in 2001, after her body was found outside a Los Angeles restaurant. Blake denied all charges, and in 2005, he was found not guilty of the crime. However, he was found liable in a wrongful death lawsuit and had to pay $30 million. Afterwards, Blake filed for bankruptcy. Number 22, OJ Simpson. OJ Simpson's name will forever be linked to one of the most infamous trials in history, but his violent history started long before. In 1995, after one of the most publicized trials in history, former pro football player OJ Simpson was found not guilty of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman, despite a history of documented spousal abuse. In a subsequent civil trial, OJ Simpson was found guilty of their wrongful deaths in order to pay more than $33 million in damages. In 2008, the Juice was convicted of armed robbery, kidnapping, and assault with a deadly weapon for attempting to steal sports memorabilia in Las Vegas. He was granted parole after serving 9 years of a possible 33-year sentence in July 2017. Number 21, Rosco Fatty Arbuckle.
A rags-to-riches comedic star who helped make the emergent U.S. film industry wildly popular, Rosco Fatty Arbuckle fell afoul of the first big Hollywood scandal. It pretty much ruined his career, but he's considered one of the real pioneers in the movie business. Here's the true story of Fatty Arbuckle.
Silent film star Rosco Arbuckle's career was ruined by a scandal so explosive that even his eventual acquittal couldn't save his reputation. Silent film star Rosco Fatty Arbuckle saw his career go down the tubes after he was falsely accused of a violent sexual assault on fellow silent movie actress Virginia Rapp, which supposedly led to her death several days later. According to Smithsonian, Arbuckle was allegedly framed by Rapp's friend and known con artist Maud Delmont, who told newspapers that she witnessed the assault at a party she and Rapp attended in Arbuckle's hotel suite. During Arbuckle's 3 trials, which resulted in 2 hung juries and 1 acquittal, evidence showed that no signs of a sexual assault occurred and that Rapp suffered from a chronic bladder condition, which likely led to the rupture of the organ that caused her death. Despite his exoneration, Arbuckle never came close to his previous level of stardom. He ended up barely scraping by, changing his name, and working behind the scenes doing whatever his remaining friends in the industry could offer. Number 20, Robert Downey Jr.
Maybe one of the most influential and inspiring figures in cinema, but that didn't happen overnight. Far from it. Downey Jr.'s life has been a roller coaster of ups and downs, with heavy substance abuse and legal troubles plaguing his youth. But somehow he went from forgotten star and prison inmate to arguably the most integral Avenger in the MCU, one of the most successful franchises of all time.
Robert Downey Jr. went from beloved star to infamous addict and back again, but his struggles with drugs almost cost him everything. Robert Downey Jr. was arrested several times on felony drug charges during the height of his drug addiction between 1996 and 2001.
From as young as 8 years old, Downey claims that he was addicted to drugs. Introduced to drugs when he was just 6 years old by his father, who was a movie director, he says he was constantly surrounded by marijuana and cocaine. And at the time, taking drugs with his father was a way they bonded together.
In April 1996, he was arrested for possession of cocaine, heroin, and an unloaded .357 Magnum while speeding down Sunset Boulevard. He later broke into a neighbor's house and fell asleep in one of the beds. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation, but unfortunately, he missed an appointment with his probation officer and was sentenced to 6 months in LA County Jail. He was arrested again in 2001 after police found cocaine and Valium in his Palm Springs hotel room and was sent to rehab and sentenced to 3 years of probation.
What's wrong?
Come on, man. Do I look like something's wrong?
Number 19, Bert Reynolds.
Not only was Bert Reynolds the quintessential 1970s and 1980s movie star, he was also the definitive macho stud of the ultimate macho era. Rocking a legendary mustache and unrivaled swagger, Reynolds shot to fame after a stint on the TV western Gunsmoke and a role in the harrowing survival drama Deliverance, then became an international superstar with
Burt Reynolds' charm and swagger couldn't hide the fact that he was one of Hollywood's biggest jerks during his heyday. Few actors were more popular than Burt Reynolds in the 1970s. He had a natural swagger about him and an easy charm. He was also considered a symbol of desire. He had a running start on the small screen in the 1960s, and then in 1972's Deliverance, he proved he could act in movies. The late actor also gained a reputation of being hard to work with. Whenever I meet someone I worked with in the 70s or 80s, I immediately apologize because I was an ass, he said during an interview decades later. I was the biggest star in the world and I didn't handle it well. He worked steadily in the late 80s and 90s, but only in smaller roles that didn't bring him much attention. He had a chance at a Travolta-like comeback in Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights, but once again proved to be difficult to work with. Reynolds was unable to regain the Playboy leading man status of his 1970s salad days. Number 18, Gig Young.
Gig Young isn't talked about all that much today, though he was once one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. After winning an Academy Award for his role in the 1969 film They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, Gig's career went on a downward spiral that never recovered.
Gig Young's Oscar-winning career ended in tragedy and violence, leaving Hollywood stunned and searching for answers. Actor Gig Young and his wife were both found dead in their home in 1978. After surveying the scene, police reported that Young shot his wife and then killed himself. Young was found face down on the floor of his bedroom, a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol in his hand. His wife was found face down beside him. Young had apparently shot himself in the mouth, and the bullet exited the back of his head. His wife was shot in the back of the head. No suicide note was found. Number 17, Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges' life was a roller coaster of crime, addiction, and near misses with death. His story is a tale of survival. The tumultuous life of Diff'rent Strokes actor Todd Bridges is well documented. His long criminal history includes multiple drug arrests, a 1987 charge for making a bomb threat, and a 1983 charge for carrying a concealed firearm, according to the Los Angeles Times. The most disturbing allegation against Bridges occurred in 1989, when he was charged with the attempted murder of Kenneth Pex Clay, who claimed Bridges shot him 8 times during an altercation in a crack house. Represented by famed defense attorney Johnny Cochran, Bridges was acquitted of the charge twice. The first trial resulted in a deadlocked jury. After a subsequent drug arrest in 1992, Bridges got his act together, went to rehab, and as of 2016, he had 26 years of sobriety under his belt. Number 16, Johnny Depp.
Did you know that Johnny Depp has struggled with an addiction to drugs and alcohol throughout his life? Depp's sister even staged an intervention with the actor, hoping the Pirates of the Caribbean star would get treatment. To learn more about Depp's tragic real-life story, keep watching.
Johnny Depp's public battles and disturbing accusations have made headlines for years, and the truth is often stranger than fiction. Many ugly accusations came out of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's divorce, especially Heard's claim that Depp had been both verbally and physically abusive. In a video taken by Heard and released to TMZ, an allegedly intoxicated Depp can be seen shouting at Heard and throwing a wine glass and bottle.
What happened? No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Depp was never charged with assault, though Heard was granted a temporary restraining order. Eventually, Heard agreed to drop the order as part of a $7 million divorce settlement, which was to be donated to charity, according to The Guardian. Number 15, Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's fiery temper has led to numerous altercations. But one infamous incident involving a telephone was truly shocking. The actor famous for playing bruisers like Maximus in Gladiator and Officer Bud White, LA Confidential, unsurprisingly has an off-the-charts temper offset as well. He's been linked to a number of brawls and otherwise violent altercations, but none more infamous than the 2005 incident that saw him chuck a telephone at a hotel concierge who refused to help him place a phone call. Number 14, Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte's attempts to defy aging are almost as bizarre as his off-screen antics, including a DUI while under the influence of GHB. Most celebrities age gracefully until their elder years, adapting their career along with it and maintaining relevance in the process. Nick Nolte plays Dance Dance Revolution. Back in 2001, 48 Hours documented the veteran actor's obsessive attempts to do what he described as slowing down the aging process. 1 year after the 48 Hour special, he was arrested for drunk driving in Malibu with GHB on his person, which he claimed to be taken for 4 years without getting raped. Nolte, last seen in the disappointing Gangster Squad, is 71 now and looks every bit his age. So we can officially chalk the anti-aging Dance Dance Revolution GHB regimen up as a failure, right? Number 13, Rip Torn.
Court records say actor Rip Torn was so intoxicated when he broke into a Connecticut bank that he thought he was home, taking off his hat and boots, leaving them by the door. The 78-year-old was arrested inside this bank with a loaded gun.
Rip Torn's legendary acting career was marred by drunken mischief, breaking and entering, and multiple run-ins with the law. In April 2007, Rip Torn was convicted of drunk driving after his car hit a tractor trailer. In 2009, he was convicted again for driving home drunk from a bar with a Christmas tree tied to the top of his car. In 2010, he drunkenly broke into the Litchfield Bancorp, which was in the same building as his home. He thought that he was entering his own home, but was found carrying a gun. Torn was charged with carrying a firearm without a permit, carrying a firearm while intoxicated, first-degree burglary, second-degree criminal trespassing, and third-degree criminal mischief. The court sentenced him to 2.5 years in prison and 3 years of probation. Number 12, Christian Brando.
Fame, money, privilege, kidnapping, drug abuse, and murder. Being born into Hollywood royalty isn't all it's cracked up to be. Just ask Christian Brando.
Christian Brando's violent outburst over his sister's abusive relationship ended in tragedy, forever tarnishing the Brando name. Actor Christian Brando, son of Marlon Brando, pled guilty to manslaughter after he shot and killed the boyfriend of his half-sister Cheyenne, Dag Grohl, though Brando maintained that the May 1990 shooting was accidental.
Christian Brando might have always been destined for a turbulent life, but it didn't help that even his name was a point of contention. According to Marlon Brando's biographer, Christian was named after French actor Christian Marquand, a close friend of Marlon's for many years. But Christian's mother, actress Anna Koshfi, was suspicious of her husband's relationship with the handsome actor, finally becoming convinced the two men were having a sexual affair after observing how affectionate they were when Marquand stayed at the couple's Los Angeles home.
He also said it happened during a confrontation about Cheyenne's claim that Drolette was abusing her. Brando was originally charged with first-degree murder, and he served 5 years in prison. Notably, Cheyenne Brando gave birth to Drolette's son, Tuki Brando, only a month after his death, and she hanged herself in 1995. Number 11, Woody Allen. Woody Allen's films are overshadowed by dark accusations from his past, involving his own family and a shocking betrayal of trust. In 1993, filmmaker Woody Allen was accused by his ex-wife, actress Mia Farrow, of molesting his then 7-year-old daughter, Dylan. A subsequent police investigation resulted in no charges against Allen. The scandal reappeared in February 2014 when Dylan published an open letter to the New York Times confirming Farrow's original accusations. Allen responded with his own piece in the Times, denying everything. Number 10. Gary Busey. Gary Busey's bizarre behavior goes beyond his eccentric characters. His real-life antics are even more unpredictable and disturbing. Words barely scratch the surface when it comes to describing the insanity of Gary Busey. A single look is all one really needs to determine that he's out of this world. But there are things even crazier to the man than imaginable once he opens that creepy wide mouth of his. At any given moment, he can spout metaphysical nonsense, quantum theory, spiritual musings, or anecdotes about how he used to rail lines of coke off of his dog. Is Gary Busey a misunderstood savant? The victim of a tragic loss of inhibition thanks to head injuries sustained from his infamous 1988 motorcycle crash? Or is he simply yet another cautionary tale of the dangers of substance abuse? With the kind of shit Gary talks, it's probably all three and then some. Number 9, Richard Harris.
Richard Harris rose to international fame as a charismatic and versatile actor. But his personal life wasn't always rosy, and often his struggles off-set were carried onto the film sets. This caused many co-stars to take issue with him while working.
Richard Harris's wild lifestyle and aggressive outbursts made him infamous on and off the screen, leaving a trail of chaos in his wake. Richard Harris was an acclaimed actor with an impressive filmography, one of the most successful thespians of the 1960s and 70s. The Irish actor also had a reputation for getting totally drunk out of his mind and taking controlled substances. Harris married Elizabeth Reese Williams in 1957. Their relationship was a tumultuous one, as Harris was known to get aggressive when he drank. He brought that rage with him on film sets as well. He garnered a reputation for being difficult to work with and rude to his fellow actors. He notoriously swiped the trophy at the Cannes Film Festival in 1963. He had a history of getting kicked out of bars. Harris became a late-night regular at a police station in West London. He nearly died of an OD in 1978. Number 8, Peter Robbins.
Good luck on that, Mr. Robbins.
Good luck to you.
It's hard to believe this disheveled defendant shouting at a judge is the same guy who voiced everyone's favorite cartoon character, Charlie Brown.
Good grief.
Good grief is right.
I hope you drop dead of a heart attack.
His name is Peter Robbins, and his profanity-laced tirade came in a San Diego courtroom. He was there for probation violations after pleading guilty to threatening his former girlfriend.
The voice behind Charlie Brown had a tragic and troubling life that spiraled into criminal behavior and multiple arrests. Peter Robbins may not be a household name, but his work is familiar. He voiced Charlie Brown in A Charlie Brown Christmas, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and 4 other Peanuts TV specials. Unfortunately, Robbins' latter-day off-screen life overshadowed his work. In 2013, he was arrested for stalking an old girlfriend and harassing a surgeon who'd given the woman her breast implants. He received 8 months in a residential drug treatment center and 5 years probation, but found himself in front of a judge again in 2015 for making threats against the manager of the mobile home park where he lived, as well as for removing his court-ordered GPS monitor and drinking. That's a lot of probation violations, for which Robbins was sentenced to 4 years and 8 months in prison. Number 7, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson is kinda crazy.
Hey, you want to see crazy? I'll tell you.
Mel Gibson's explosive temper and shocking scandals made him one of Hollywood's most controversial figures. His dark side is hard to ignore.
Anti-Semitism, homophobia, and a violent romantic relationship. Here's why Mel Gibson was blacklisted from Hollywood for years. In the early morning of July 28, 2006, Mel Gibson was pulled over on the Pacific Coast Highway for drunk driving. At the time of the stop, Gibson was doing 87 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone.
As of this writing, Mel Gibson seems to be back in the good graces of Hollywood after a decade of being ostracized, following several high-profile incidents involving disturbing offset behavior. Those conflicts included hurling anti-Semitic slurs at a cop during a DUI arrest and secret recordings of violent rants against his ex-wife, Oksana Grigorieva. Out of all the dirt that came to light, perhaps the most disturbing allegation against the Lethal Weapon star was Grigorieva's claim that Gibson broke her front teeth with a blow that glanced off her jaw and grazed the chin of her infant daughter, whom she was holding at the time, according to Vanity Fair. Gibson later admitted to slapping his ex one time with an open hand in an attempt to bring her back to reality. Not surprisingly, the pair finalized their divorce in 2011. Number 6, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's wild lifestyle and troubling legal history are almost too crazy to believe. You won't believe how far he's fallen. In all honesty, it would probably be easier to just list what Charlie Sheen hasn't been accused of. But we'll just highlight the most disturbing stuff. According to a USA Today timeline of the troubled star's legal entanglements, he's been accused of the following: accidentally shooting then-fiancée Kelly Preston in the leg, assaulting then-girlfriend Brittany Ashland, physically and verbally abusing ex-wife Denise Richards, as well as threatening her life, assaulting ex-wife Brooke Mueller, and punching a female dental technician in the chest during an office visit. As if all that wasn't enough, he's also been accused by 2 women of failing to disclose to them that he was HIV positive, despite maintaining a sexual relationship with them. Number 5. Cuba Gooding Jr.
Women have accused him of sexual misconduct. It started in June of 2019 when USA Today reported that Gooding was being investigated for allegedly groping a woman while drunk at a bar in New York City.
Cuba Gooding Jr. went from Oscar winner to scandal-plagued actor with a series of shocking incidents that stunned Hollywood. Cuba Gooding Jr. went too far. Celebrities are free to decline requests to pose for pictures with fans. In a New Orleans bar in 2012, Gooding allegedly started cursing at admirers who wanted to take photos with him. Gooding is accused of pushing a female bartender against a wall after she asked him to leave. Gooding claimed that it was all a misunderstanding when someone called the police. Number 4. Stephen Collins. Stephen Collins played a wholesome minister on TV, but his real-life actions were far from saintly. His scandal rocked the entertainment world. Stephen Collins was a regular presence on television since the 1970s, usually portraying friendly, all-American middle-aged guys like John F. Kennedy in A Woman Named Jackie, and Dennis and Dee's biological dad on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. In 1996, he landed his most famous role, one he'd keep for more than a decade. Sweet, caring, and downright saintly father of 7 and minister Reverend Matt Camden on Seventh Heaven. His strong association with that character made the revelations about Collins' off-screen life all the more shocking. While Collins was in the midst of a heated divorce with actress Faye Grant in 2014, TMZ obtained a tape of the couple in a therapy session from 2 years prior. Grant recorded the conversation as a means to gather evidence of suspected felonies. Collins admitted in graphic detail that he'd committed sexual indiscretions against 3 underage girls, including exposure and touching. Number 3. Bill Cosby.
Did you ever think that this day was going to come?
I've dreamt of this day for 32 years. And I turned 50. It's the best birthday present ever.
An emotional end to what's been a very long road for the women who've come to be known as the Cosby accusers.
You are a sinful and disgusting human being, and until your death, you deserve every bit of suffering that jail time and prison might bring to you.
The man once known as America's dad has one of the darkest stories in Hollywood. Bill Cosby's disturbing behavior shocked the world. Bill Cosby, the lovable comedian and TV star, faced numerous accusations from women, many of whom were seeking career guidance, who claimed that he drugged and sexually assaulted them. The allegations reach back to the 1970s, with many surfacing in 2014. Cosby denied the allegations and refused to answer questions from reporters on the topic. Among the women who have accused Cosby is supermodel Janice Dickinson. Cosby was not initially convicted or even tried for any of the accusations, but his reputation certainly suffered in the direct aftermath. Both Netflix and NBC postponed or canceled projects with Cosby, and TV Land removed reruns of The Cosby Show from their lineup. In April 2018, Cosby was tried for the 2004 rape of a woman named Andrea Constand. He was found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and faces up to 10 years in prison. Number 2. David Carradine. David Carradine's erratic behavior and wild, drug-fueled escapades were legendary, but his shocking death left everyone speechless. David Carradine was arrested several times throughout his life for disturbing the peace and marijuana possession, but was not charged with a felony until 1974. At the height of his popularity in Kung Fu, he did a bunch of peyote, stripped naked, and decided to take a stroll around his neighborhood in Laurel Canyon. He broke into a neighbor's home, bled all over the piano, and assaulted a young woman he had deemed to be a witch. Police followed the trail of blood to his home, where he was arrested and charged with mischief and assault. Number 1, Michael Chase.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Entertainment Tonight. Well, a shocking discovery last night. A former star of The Shield arrested for gunning down his wife.
It is shocking, and it's so sad. This is a storyline you'd find in a crime drama, but this tragedy is all too real.
Yeah, and the horror is too real as well for his 2 children who were actually in the house when their mother was shot multiple times and killed. And, Brooke, you went to the scene looking for answers.
The shocking and tragic story of Michael Chase is one of Hollywood's darkest chapters. His violent actions left his family shattered. Chase was best known for playing Officer Julian Lowe on the FX police drama The Shield, but also appeared in high-profile motion pictures like Forrest Gump and Boogie Nights. On May 20th, 2014, at Chase's home in the Hyde Park area of Los Angeles, Chase shot his wife April, an elite medal-winning sprinter.
Well, Shield actor Michael Chase was sentenced today in downtown Los Angeles. A judge gave him 40 years to life in prison for killing his wife. CBS 2's Amber Lee has details.
It was an emotional day for the family of April Chase as they sat in the courtroom behind her killer. Former actor Michael Chase was sentenced to 40 years to life behind bars after a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, more than 2 years after he gunned down his wife.
In the back, as their young sons, ages 5 and 8, looked on from their bedroom. Prosecutors said Chase then shot his wife in the legs before telling her, "If you like running, then run to heaven." Prosecutors further contended that Chase, who had been drinking all day, was obsessed with the idea his wife might leave him and believed she was having an affair. Chase was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest deep dives. Don't miss out. Check out our other videos from our shocking celebrity secrets. See you next time.